The biggest economic threat to the U.S. right now isn't coming from China, Russia, or inflation. It's coming from the last place you'd expect, Canada. That's right. The country known for maple syrup and politeness just blindsided the U.S. with a $155 billion retaliation package, and it's already shaking the foundation of North American trade. The media barely scratched the surface, but what's happening behind closed doors? It's far more dangerous than anyone's admitting. This isn't just about tariffs. It's about control. It's about leverage. It's about a quiet power shift that could explode into a full-scale trade war, and no one's ready for it. If you think this only affects diplomats and billionaires, think again. The ripple effect touches everything: gas stations, car dealerships, power grids, your wallet. And if you're smart enough to be watching this video right now, you're about to uncover the truth that 99% of people will never even hear about. They say history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure knows how to make noise when it wants to be heard. Canada's decision to impose a sweeping 25% tariff on $155 billion worth of American goods wasn't some polite diplomatic reply. It was a thunderous act of retaliation. A line was crossed. A modern-day trade war was lit like a fuse, and now, even the most seasoned economists are watching the sparks fly. Tariffs like these don't just make headlines. They set the tone for a new chapter in global power dynamics, one where even allies don't hold back. And while politicians argue in chambers, the real battlefield stretches from factories to families. This isn't just about metal and numbers, it's about livelihoods. The supply chain is straining, consumer prices are shifting, and businesses on both sides of the border are tightening their belts. If you're someone who refuses to settle for surface-level news, someone who wants to think deeper, smarter, sharper, then hit that subscribe button now. Because the people who understand what's really going on, they're always 5 steps ahead. And what's coming next is something most will never see coming. The automotive world isn't just facing a bump in the road. It's swerving into a full-blown collision. When Canada fired back with a second wave of retaliation, it didn't just go for symbolic targets. It hit where it hurts most, the automotive industry. Brands like Tesla, Ford, and GMC suddenly found themselves caught in the crossfire, with critical parts and components now tangled in a web of rising tariffs. This isn't just about business. It's about dismantling decades of cross-border cooperation that kept assembly lines humming and innovation flowing. Now, picture this. A single bolt, made in Ontario, could delay the production of thousands of vehicles in Michigan. That's how tight and fragile the supply chain really is. And with costs soaring and timelines cracking under pressure, automakers are scrambling to adapt in real time. This is no longer just a trade dispute. It's a structural threat to an industry that fuels millions of jobs. And if the trade war keeps snowballing, the damage won't just be financial, it'll be historic. But hey, the automotive sector is just one piece of the puzzle. Wait until you see who's next in the line of fire. If you thought cars were the end of it, think again, because now we're talking about the bloodline of modern economies: energy. As tensions escalated, tariffs didn't stop at consumer goods or vehicles. They cut straight into the arteries of industry: oil, gas, electricity. Ontario's premier didn't just impose surcharges on electricity exports to the U.S. He issued a threat that sent shivers through boardrooms: a total shutdown. Energy isn't just power, it's control. And in the middle of a trade war, that control becomes a weapon. This is where things get real. A single disruption in cross-border energy supply can paralyze production, inflate costs, and trigger a full-blown energy crisis. And when factories slow down, economies follow. The ripple effect? Far beyond electric bills, we're talking industrial slowdowns, stalled investments, and pressure on national grids. If you're the kind of person who doesn't just follow events, but connects the dots before anyone else, hit that subscribe button. Because the deeper you look into these events, the clearer it becomes. Knowledge like this isn't common, and those who have it play the game differently. Economic consequences don't need permission to cross borders. As Canada tightened its grip through tariffs, its own currency took a hit. Markets reacted with volatility, and projections now show a potential 3% shrink in the national economy. But here's the kicker: the U.S. isn't immune. With rising import costs and supply chain disruptions, consumers and businesses across America are feeling the pressure too. That's the beauty and the curse of economic interdependence. When one falls, both stumble. This isn't just about short-term discomfort. This is about compounding pressure that builds under the surface, the kind that topples not just stock prices but entire economic models. From local retailers to multinational corporations, everyone's recalculating. We're entering a phase where even slight policy shifts can ripple into massive consequences. And let's be honest, when economic pain becomes political pain, retaliation stops being strategic and starts becoming personal. But wait until you see how Canada is playing its next move. This isn't checkers, it's chess. Canada isn't just responding with tariffs, it's waging psychological warfare. The $60 billion countermeasure is massive, but the real brilliance? Billboards, lining highways across 12 U.S. states. They deliver one message loud and clear. In a trade war, nobody wins. It's marketing as retaliation, designed not just to strike at the economy, but to shift public perception. Imagine driving to work and being reminded that your rising grocery bill isn't just inflation, it's geopolitical chess. This is smart strategy wrapped in storytelling. It's about controlling the narrative while flexing economic muscle. Canada's framing itself not as a victim, but as a calculated, composed force responding with precision. In a court of public opinion, that matters. And with the U.S. heading into an election year, pressure is mounting from within. Economic sanctions may make the headlines, but it's the quiet influence campaigns that shift minds and votes. But here's where things get even more interesting. Canada's not just retaliating, it's pivoting. Instead of just reacting, Canada is rebuilding. Prime Minister Mark Carney unveiled a $450 million support package, not just band-aids, but long-term investments, tax deferrals, infrastructure plans, and policies meant to ease reliance on U.S. trade. In the face of economic sanctions and rising tariffs, this isn't retreat. It's repositioning. It's how a nation regains control over its future. While others panic, Canada is adapting its blueprint. The strategy? Strengthen from within. Bolster key industries, protect vulnerable sectors, and rewire the economy to be less dependent on external volatility. It's the difference between waiting for the storm to pass and learning how to build ships in the middle of it. The supply chain is no longer just about imports and exports. It's a battleground of sovereignty and foresight. And Canada is quietly setting the stage for something bigger. Because while some look west, others are already looking east. Canada is no longer putting all its chips on red, white, and blue. With the trade war grinding on, the country is accelerating its pivot toward the Asia-Pacific. The CPTPP isn't just a deal, it's an escape hatch. Strengthening ties with Japan, Australia, and Vietnam means new markets, new partnerships, and a new chapter in global influence. The message is clear. If the U.S. wants to play hardball, Canada is learning how to play smarter. This move isn't just about geography. It's about leverage. Diversification weakens the grip of American retaliation and gives Canada more room to breathe, negotiate, and grow. By expanding trade routes and economic alliances, it reduces vulnerability to supply chain shocks and opens doors to tech, energy, and manufacturing opportunities. The real game here? Creating a web of partnerships so resilient that no single country can apply pressure without feeling it back. But of course, the real question remains, where does this all lead next? The future of Canada, U.S. trade isn't written in stone. It's being drafted in real time by politicians, markets, and unexpected events. One wrong move, and a temporary dispute turns into a generational divide. Long-term divergence isn't just possible, it's already happening. If both sides don't recalibrate, what used to be one of the strongest trade alliances in the world could fracture beyond repair. And when that happens, the fallout won't stop at boardrooms or ballots. It'll reshape North America's entire economic landscape. Pressure is mounting from industries, voters, and global players watching this power struggle unfold. Tariffs and economic sanctions are just the surface-level drama. The real story is about identity, sovereignty, and influence. And if you're someone who refuses to be left behind, who wants to be part of the few who actually understand the deeper moves behind global events, now's the time. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and join a community that sees what most people miss. Because trust me, this is only the beginning. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You now understand something most people don't even know is happening. This isn't just a story about tariffs or some distant trade war. It's about strategy, power, and the hidden mechanics behind economic decisions that quietly shape your daily life. And now, you know what's really going on behind the curtain. But here's the question. How many other facts like this are out there, hiding in plain sight, just waiting to be uncovered? Do you think most people even realize the stakes? Or are they still stuck thinking these moves don't affect them? The truth is, knowledge like this puts you ahead. It's the edge that thinkers, investors, and leaders use to make smarter moves. So if you're serious about becoming part of that top 1% who see the game before the pieces even move, subscribe, turn on notifications, and keep learning with us. Because this was just one chapter in a world full of untold power plays.